the game just quote unquote crashing for what reason? Because me and the duos were doing good in squads because we already got a back out loadout because we were moving right. We didn't insta die. We were running corners. We were staying together after he got the self-suicide kill. I had, like, because we had the advantage, the game crashed. It couldn't wipe us right there when it wanted to. I had the thought, yo, we have a tactical advantage right now. We were about to get in a skirmish. It kicked me immediately after I took back the advantage, and the universe said, no, I can't have that. I'm kicking you. So I just have to take the time to point that the fuck out. Because it's not like I got a bad internet connection. It's not like I'm hacking. It's not like this is some bullshit third-party game. It's not like I'm piggybacking off of somebody else's signal. It's not like this game isn't the newest game. It's not like I don't have the current update. So what would have been the error?
That stank of ozone and rotted meat. The 30 days of night vampire that Virgil had been carving apart let out a shriek that shattered every piece of glass in the hallway. The roid ichor in the air flooded into its open wounds, knitting its flesh back together with metallic silver veins that pulsed with the...
Quit, redo that. Quit calling it roid energy or whatever the fuck. Oh my god.
The basileus of the unholy corrupt groaned, a sound like 1,000 rough...
Roid energy. Roid. 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 I didn't say anything other than there we go. Energy. What about that screams for? What about that screams? That's crazy. What about that screams? What about that screams supernatural? What about that screams the originals? What about that screams into that shit?
Heads up, an enemy squad marked you as a bounty target. Back on station. Good work.
That's dumb. That's dumb.
Basileus of the unholy corrupt exhaled a rhythmic, rattling breath, the sound of 1,000 lungs filled with fluid. High above in the obsidian firmament.
Maybe it's like I needed to destroy the fucking turret.
To them, the 100
The fucking claymore.
They were livestock being bled.
No, your grenade's going to
The
hit
Lord of
the
the Tower
ceiling.
reached out.
No, your
The spears
concussion's going to hit the ceiling. No, you're going to have your back
and triggered
turned
the
too.
vexation.
You
Across the
definitely
19th
need to
floor,
do that,
the air
though.
didn't just change. It curdled. The black rain thickened into a viscous, neon-purple bile. The ichor of the damned. It smelled of copper, sulfur, and the sweet, cloying scent of a week-old corpse. The 30 Days of Night vampire that Virgil had been systematically dismantling let out a shriek that tore the silver linings from the clouds. The purple bile on the floor surged upward, acting like a sentient suture, dragging the creature's severed limbs back to its torso. The wounds didn't just heal, they erupted with jagged obsidian shards.
What?
The creature's eyes rolled back into its head, leaving only two glowing amber slits of pure, unadulterated malice. Virgil's eyes narrowed, his thumb clicking the guard of Yamato. The vampire was no longer a beast of instinct. It was being piloted by the tower's own parasitic will. It moved with a jittery, frame-skipping violence, its claws leaving trails of purple fire in the air. HMPH. A puppet on a string, Virgil remarked, the camera shifting into a steel-blue, underworld-style strobe as he carried a strike that cracked the very foundation of the hall. In the center of the corridor, Benny screamed, a sound that was half man, half engine. The purple bile seeped into his open pores, his muscles bulging and tearing beneath his skin until he stood a head taller than any man should. His serrated cleaver, the Apostle's tax collector, began to weave the same purple ichor, the blade humming with the frequency of a dying stalk. Dean, Benny's voice was a wet, distorted gurgle. The silver wires in his jaw glowing white-hot as they fought to hold his face together. It hurts so much. Dean was thrown back, his shoulder hitting a wall of rusted pipes that groaned under the impact. He's pumping the ichor directly into them, Dean shouted, spitting out a mouthful of blood and bile. Sam? Catch. The gear is hitting the wall. They're evolving faster than we can cut them. Haley and Buffy were forced back to back, as the Walker Juggernaut and the Liquor Deadite underwent a grotesque metamorphosis. Every time Buffy's scythe carved through the liquor, the wound didn't bleed. It sprouted blue-bladed tongues that tasted the air first. The Juggernaut's skin hardened into a calcified armor of flesh and teeth, making it look like a walking ossuary. We need to sever the feet. Buffy yelled, carrying the tongue that shattered a stone pillar beside her head. Dean scrambled to his feet. His fingers clawed at a heavy, rusted crate that had slammed into the floor nearby. He didn't use a key. He drove the Soul Eater blade into the seam and wrenched it open with a guttural roar. Amalgam item. The Architect's Sensor. Quest grade. Item type. Throwable tactical catalyst. Lore. Relic from the time before the government took control. It was designed to purify the air of parasitic influence, now repurposed as a weapon of desperate rebellion. Ability. The Great Leveler. Releases a shockwave of neutral essence that temporarily starves nearby enemies of the ichor, reverting them to their base, mortal vulnerabilities. Cost. Drains 50% of the wielder's sanity and stamina. Dean grabbed the glowing obsidian spear, his hand trembling as the parasitic veins of his blade crawled further up his neck, guessing at time with the tower's heartbeat. He looked at Virgil, who was a blur of silver and blue as he fought the hyper-evolved vampire. Virgil! Clear the blast, though. Dean hurled the sensor into the heart of the enemy squad. The spear hit the floor and didn't explode with fire. It exploded with the vacuum of sound. A wave of gray, cold energy washed over the hallway. The purple glow in Benny's eyes flickered and died. The liquor's extra tongues withered into gray husks. For a brief, flickering window, the umbilical cord between the Lord and his monsters had been cut. Finish it! Dean roared. The perspective shifted to the damp, lightless dungeons of Selfree. Ash and Gus stood before the gates of the center. A door made of fused, screaming faces. The ether was flooding the base of the tube, said, his chainsaw hand coughing up black smoke as he held back the Resident Evil hunter that had grown a second head. Gus, if we don't use that soul now, we're just more meat for the grinder. Gus didn't speak. He reached into the void of his cloak and pulled out the soul of the suture sentinel, a screaming, violent orb of pure agony. He didn't just place it in his sword. He crushed it against the flat of the Dragon Slayer. Transposed ability, Sentinel frozen. Effect. The Dragon Slayer absorbs the weight of the Sith. Gus becomes an immovable object, his armor fusing to the floor. He gains 100% resistance to the tower's environmental hazards, but the sword begins to drink his own blood to maintain the anchor. The door is opening, Gus grunted, his stone faces on the gate beginning to weep as they stood back. Beyond the gate stood Malthus. The Apostle sat on a throne of jagged scrap, his magic still broken and flickering from the black radiator. Fallen king, his froze cloak tattered, clutching a staff made of human vertebrae. He was wounded, but the ichor was pouring into him from the ceiling. You think it's thinking he stopped the Lord's taps? Malthus laughed, a wet, rattling sound. He is the tower. He is the very ground that will eventually swallow your corpses. Back in the West Wing, the sensor's effect was already fading. The purple bile on the floor began to glow with a malevolent light once more. Then he looked at Dean. A single tear of dark, clean blood escaping his amber eyes before the Ichor claimed him again. Dean, then he whispered, his soul being crushed under the weight of the tower's evolution. Please, end the cycle. Don't let me come back. Dean gripped the soul eater, the blade vibrating with a hunger that matched the Lord's own greed. He stepped forward, the steel blue lighting of the hallway casting him in the shadow like a true executioner. Next step. Would you like to witness Dean's final, visceral mercy to the corrupt Benny? Or switch to Ash and Gus as they use the Sentinel's burden to weather the storm of Malthus's last desperate magical assault?
What the fuck? He lit.
Yes.
Okay.
It's because they gave me catering. And then right off the bat, they just gave me like $300. And they're like, here's the catering money. Go ahead and have a margarita. So I set up, I got a margarita. And then they kept refilling me, and they kept refilling me, and they kept refilling me. And they said, oh, good party.
Switch perspectives and then go back to what's going on. But yeah, I want him to cleanse Vinny's soul and all the other vampire and werewolves that was in his group. They just get fucking eviscerated. And they get not a level up, but they get an upgrade or something. Or they get to pick a new skill. They get a new skill point.
Stone faces on the gate of the soul refinery shrieked in unison as they ground apart, revealing the scorched throne room of the gatekeeper. Ash Williams and Guts stepped into the chamber, their boots splashing through inches of the violet bile that now flooded the lower levels. Malthus sat slumped on his throne of scrap, the hole in his chest from Dean's bullet still leaping black smoke. As they...
Por favor. It's homemade.
That's crazy. I was going to tell you there's beer in the fridge.
I might take a beer. That won't quite take my blood as hard as the rest of the margarita will. They're pretty strong, man. I only had, that's my fourth one, so it's I had 3 left. And I feel fucking good as shit. Good drunk.
Like, but I had to get home somehow.
Yeah, and all the catering shit, I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna bring it in the morning. So my car full of catering shit, man. But the passenger seat open. I don't know if that means anything, or if we're even gonna maybe make them Taco Bell later.
Yeah, we're getting food. I have no
I think I
food.
drink too much for.
Let me use your car to get
I don't know how
food.
this night's gonna go.
I just can't get food because I don't have a whip right now.
I hear you. No, I'm at like letting drive or whatever, you know. But oh, what happened? Your guy came today?
No, he ended up getting busy. I'm boss.
Tomorrow?
He said he tried to make it by tomorrow.
I did not hear you.
He said he tried to make it by tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Alright, then. Because you need it by Monday, I guess, maybe. Yeah, actually, someone's car died in the parking lot at Los Locos, and I had my jumper cables, so I went out to jump them. And then it didn't even work, so I had a different problem. The car that negative TV.
That's mine.
And then they gave me $20 anyway just for trying it. And I was like, actually, I didn't even get y'all car started. Like, I don't want to take your money. Like, sorry that didn't work. And they're like, no, you just like went on your way, take it. All right.
I got a blunt.
Sorry.
On my way.
What?
Nice.
What did you say?
Yesterday, same shit, but I got a blunt for helping somebody.
You got a blunt, you said?
Yesterday.
Oh, but you still have it?
We smoked it.
You shot one.
The apostle's eyes flared purple. He slammed his staff of vertebrae into the ground, and the ichor of the damned rose from the floor like reaching hands, thickening into the shapes of skeletal knights. You are nothing but grit in the gears of a god, Malthus roared, his voice cracking with the strain of his fading magic. Guts didn't flinch. He activated the Sentinel's burden. His berserker armor hissed as it fused momentarily with the stone floor, his cape billowing in a wind that shouldn't exist. He swung the Dragon Slayer in a massive horizontal arc that didn't just cut, it shattered the very air around him. I've dealt with gods before, Guts grunted, the weight of the sword's parasitic hunger digging into his shoulders. They all bleed the same. Ash revved the chainsaw hand. The blue energy blades humming a tune of pure destruction. Hey, Birdman, call the government. I'm filing for an exemption. He laughed.
Hey, redo that. Quit calling it the fucking government. This is a horror story. We don't listen to any horror story with it called the government.
The air in the basileus grew thin, cold enough to crack bone. Across the 19th floor, the speakers, carved from the skulls of former saints, crackled with the broadcast from the high spire. The government of this tower, that cold administrative entity that viewed every drop of blood as a decimal point, had seen enough of the 108th rebellion. Audit the west wing, a voice whispered through the static, sounding like paper rubbing against a tombstone. Seize their progress. Remind them that in this tower, even hope is a taxed commodity. The purple byline fortress. Betty stood tall beside him, his clear eyes narrowed as he gripped his straight finger. Around them, Virgil, Buffy, and Haley felt the weight of their new skills settling into their marrow, a temporary heat against the absolute zero of the tower's fight. They're coming for the points we just earned, Buffy said, her Slayer's instinct flaring. She could see them through the obsidian walls, red outlines of things that shouldn't exist, moving through the ventilation shafts through the red sea. The government doesn't like it when the cattle gets tossed.
Devin, sit down and play video games.
Blood onto the floor. I've got a mission to my brother back from the...
Yeah, I know. I love you. You know why I was saying that. You're going to keep talking, bro.
I knew it was over when I was sitting the whole time, and then I took it off. And they're like, go ahead and do another one. And then when I did, they're like, hey, we have an extra gallon jug. And I was like, whoa. Like, I don't need a gallon of margarita. But I would have took it. I didn't say that. No, and then, like, they didn't have an extra. And the lady came over, like, all right, third one I just poured you, chug it. And then my Julio wanted to go. And then she did that, and then I couldn't even finish it to go, bro. I'm trying to do it. But if I were to drink that, I would throw.
Sit down and play video games, Devin. I know, and I was just wait. Let me make my joke. It was funny, but I was wait. Say that. I hear you again. I hear you. He said it. All right. Yeah, but a few minutes ago, I was hearing Google tell me a horror story. I hate you. One is the loneliest number. The only... Bro, where's my crowd, man? I'm done with you. No, you said... You say you didn't even hear me. Such a wonderful friend.
What's that to go back to work at 10 a.m.?
Way better than having to go back to work at fucking 5 a.m.
So you don't work at 5
Yeah, but still I do. Why was he right?
Uncooperative today. The perspective shifted violently to the grand staircase. Ash Williams and Gus were standing amidst the wreckage of Malthus's throne room. The apostle was cornered, his stack of vertebrae cracked, his tattered crow's coat pinned to the wall by a series of blue energy bolts from Ash's chainsaw hand. You don't understand, Malthus wheezed, his broken magic flickering like a candle in a gale. The government, they don't just rule the tower.
Redo that. Why do you keep calling it the fucking government? I told you, what horror story has called the main bad guy the fucking government outside of reality? What the fuck are you doing, man? You supposed to be inspired by all of the different writers that write vampire and or zombie horror fiction. And this, you telling me your big brain thought to call it the government?
Basileus of the unholy corrupt exhaled a rhythmic, rattling
Why are you
breath,
looking at me?
the sound of 1,000
What the fuck
lungs
you
filled
doing?
with fluid. High above in the obsidian throne room, the system watched through the lidless eyes of the tower. To these ancient administrators, the 108 were not heroes. They were livestock being bled for a higher purpose. The Lord of the Tower himself, the singer brushing a console of bone and wire and sugar condensation. Across the 19th floor, the air curdled. The black rain thickened into a viscous neon purple vial, the ichor of the damned. It smelled of copper, sulfur, and the sweet, cloying scent of a week-old corpse. The 30 Days of Night vampire that Carver had been systematically dismantling let out a shriek that tore the silver linings from the clouds. The purple vial on the floor surged upward like a sentient suture, dragging the creature's severed limbs back to its torso. The wounds didn't just heal, they erupted with jagged obsidian shards. The creature's eyes rolled back into its head, leaving only two glowing amber slits of pure, unadulterated malice. Virgil's eyes narrowed, his thumb taking the guard of Yamato. The vampire was no longer a beast of instinct. It was being piloted by the system's parasitic will. It moved with a jittery, brain-skipping violence, its claws leaving trails of purple fire in the air. HMPH. A puppet on a string, Virgil remarked, the camera shifting into a steel blue underworld-style strobe as a furious strike that followed the hall. In the center of the corridor, Benny screamed, a sound that was half man, half engine. The purple bile seeped into his open pores, his muscles bulging and tearing beneath his skin until he stood a head taller than any man should. His serrated cleaver, the apostle's tax collector, began to weep the same purple ichor, the blade humming with the frequency of a dying star. Dean. Benny's voice was a wet, distorted gurgle.
Oh, go at it. Get her. Fuck her up. Fuck her up. Oh, you got fucked up. Yeah, why you on your back? Why you on your back?
Dean was back,
get that
his
bitch.
shoulder hitting a wall of rusted pipes that groaned under the impact.
You got this.
He's pumping the ichor directly
she
into
thinks
them.
She better than you. That's why she lording it
spitting
over
out a mouthful of blood and bile.
She said make a move.
Sam?
You gonna make a move? I got you.
The gear is hitting a wall. They're revolving faster than we can cut them.
You should have made an attack right there.
Were forced back to back as the Walker Juggernaut and the Liquor Deadite underwent a grotesque metamorphosis. Every time Buffy's scythe carved through the liquor,
right here.
it sprouted new bladed tongues that tasted the air for her scent. The skin hardened into a
you ran away like a bitch.
Making it look like a walking ostrich. We need to sever
she ran and
Buffy yelled, carrying a tongue latch that shattered a stone pillar beside her head.
Walked away. She's like, yeah, I won.
His fingers clawed at a heavy, rusted crate that had slammed into the floor nearby. He didn't see. He drove the soldier blade into the seam and wrenched it open with a guttural roar. Amalgam item. The Architect's Sensor. Quest grade. Item type. Throwable tactical catalyst. Lore. A relic from the time before the system took control. It was designed to purify the air of parasitic influence. Now repurposed as a weapon of desperate rebellion. Ability. The Great Leveler. Releases a shockwave of neutral essence that temporarily starves nearby enemies of the Ichor, reverting them to their base mortal vulnerabilities. Cost. Drains